we believe that they should stay in jail until their trial is complete.
Tonight, outrage over the killing of a rookie OPP constable gets political.
Kids really enjoy putting that together.
Plus, Indigenous Ingenuity is on display at the Ontario Science Centre.
I'm really thankful for Isabella for her courage.
And there's no skirting the issue as the first official Ribbon Skirt Day approaches. Good evening, Tansei Anin, and welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. Two people are facing charges in the shooting death of Ontario Provincial Police Constable Greg Pershala over the holiday season. Randall McKenzie of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and Brandy Stewart Sperry are charged with first-degree murder. Pershala was shot and killed on December the 27th while checking a truck in a ditch near Hagersville. OPP investigators allege McKenzie and Sperry were in the truck and ambushed Pershala. According to the Canadian press, court documents show McKenzie was out on bail in connection with another incident when the shooting occurred. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is now calling on the Trudeau government to make changes to its bail policy.
So Conservatives are calling on the Trudeau government to reverse its catch and release bail policy, to allow for prisoners who have been arrested after a long rap sheet of previous offenses for violent crimes, and we believe that they should stay in jail until their trial is complete and until it can be assured that, and if convicted, that they should stay behind bars until such time as it can be assured to all of us that they are no longer a danger to the public.
It's almost back to school time for students across the country. Most Indigenous students in Canada can study in their communities up until grade 11 before they have to leave home to attend college in the city. However, the community of Wemotashi in Quebec is now offering classes for college-level students who prefer to stay home. Here's the story from Shushan Bécon, translated and voiced by Lindsay Richardson.
Comme mentionné la semaine passée aussi, ce n'est pas des documentaires à voir qui sont obligatoires dans le cadre du cours, c'est facultatif en fait.
This is a glimpse at the first ever satellite class now offered by the Kiuna Institute. Created on the request of the Atikamekw community of Wemotashi, students can now learn long distance in an all-equipped workspace, which is a good thing since the Kiuna Institute is located more than 300 kilometers from Wemotashi in the Abenaki community of Odanak.
On est très ouvert à pouvoir l'offrir dans d'autres communautés.
Kim Gabriel is a liaison with the Kiuna Institute, and she says their goal is to open doors to Indigenous students who are keen on post-secondary education.
C'est un nouveau projet, ça a été inauguré au mois d'août de cette année, puis c'est venu par un besoin des communautés justement pour leurs étudiants qui ont l'occasion de demeurer dans leur communauté, mais tout en poursuivant leurs études collégiales.
So far, 2 students are enrolled in the Virtual Human Sciences course, and 6 are enrolled in the Work Study program.
La présentation orale.
John Evan Kwokochi, Atikamekw from Wemotashi, is teaching his first political science course thanks to this initiative. When not teaching 3 hours a week, he's working towards his master's degree in political science through the University of Ottawa. He says he would have jumped at the opportunity to take flexible classes like the ones offered through Kiuna had they existed back when he was studying.
Je réside à Wemotashi et le fait que j'ai le privilège en fait d'enseigner à Wemotashi.
For now, at least, others can take the opportunity he didn't have, learning at home at a pace that works. A story by Shushan Bécon, APTN National News, Wemotashi.
A fun, educational, and hands-on exhibition at the Ontario Science Centre in Toronto has become a popular attraction. Indigenous Ingenuity offers a glimpse into First Nations, Métis and Inuit culture and traditions. Here's Annette Francis with that story.
And it will start to fall in, but that's normal because an igloo is just a bunch of rotating arches.
According to researcher Donna Francis, building an igloo is one of the most popular exhibits to experience here.
Kids really enjoy putting that together, taking a lot of pride in seeing it when it's set up. But then there's also exhibits that really appeal to their competitive nature. So with the bow and arrow, trying to hunt with that, compete with their friends. Also with the kayak and canoeing, there are components where they're racing against their friends and also testing out their knowledge at the same time, as well as the fishing. So those ones in particular, because of that competitive nature, are really lovely too.
The exhibition was created by the Montreal Science Centre in collaboration with Indigenous elders from more than a dozen nations across Canada. It's the result of 2 years of work.
Provides an awareness. It's really opening the door to an aspect of a culture in a different way maybe than many people have been experiencing before. It's really paralleling, it's really showing the attributes of Indigenous science. Some of this, my favorite part of it is really getting a chance to see the storytelling, to see the knowledge passed on from one person to another. And personally as a scientist, I am really enjoying being able to see those parallels, to understand Western science and Indigenous science in so many ways that they are similar, and the key elements that maybe Western science can really learn from that.
Robert Trewartha brought his kids out for a fun afternoon. He said it's great to see the culture and the hands-on abilities for the kids to learn.
I think if we're going to understand our past and our history, we have to understand how people lived before settlers were here. And I think it's important to understand how people lived on the land and how important the land was to Canada and to the people that lived here before.
Eric Arava is from Toronto. He says the Science Centre was his favorite place to visit growing up. When he heard about Indigenous Ingenuity, he thought it was a great opportunity for his daughter to learn.
She's loving it really so much, and she's actually pretty shocked about all the things right now too that just make so much sense for her, and learning about things like the sleds and the building and why that we're reusing animals and why we have all these other things that were done before to survive, because it's a little bit of a different environment for her growing up right now.
The exhibition will run until April 23rd. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Toronto.
All right, we want to hear what you think about the stories you've seen so far tonight. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca, or you can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. All right, Wednesday will mark the first official National Ribbon Skirt Day. It's in recognition of then 10-year-old Isabella Kulak. She was sent home from a Saskatchewan public school in December of 2020 for wearing a ribbon skirt to a formal wear day. Shortly after the incident, community members of the Cody First Nation protested. It all inspired Senator Mary Jane McCallum to sponsor a private member's bill to recognize the day. That bill was passed last month. The Cody First Nation will hold a formal event Wednesday, with those attending being encouraged to wear ribbon skirts and shirts. Chief George Cody says credit needs to be given to the Kulak family for giving the issue national attention.
I'm really thankful for Isabella, for her courage, for bringing this forth in a positive way instead of a negative way. And us as the community of Cody First Nation, we stood behind our little lady here, just to support her and her family. And so we worked out something with Good Spirit School Division to turn this to a positive situation.
All right, we have to step aside for a short break, but still ahead, the Trudeau government has reached an agreement in principle with the plaintiffs of a class action lawsuit. We'll tell you about it when we come back. Welcome back to APTN National News. The Trudeau government has reached an agreement in principle with the plaintiffs of a class action lawsuit for those who lived at what were called federal Indian boarding homes from 1951 to 1992. The total dollar amount of claims could be as high as $2 billion since it is not a capped settlement. Joining us today to talk about this agreement is one of the lawyers representing the plaintiffs, David Klein. Mr. Klein, thank you so much for joining us here today. First off, can you tell our viewers what this class action lawsuit is about and who it covers?
Sure. This is a class action filed on behalf of First Nations children who were placed in private homes far away from their communities so that they could attend school. That is anything from grades 1 to grade 12.
Okay, and what exactly does the agreement in principle with the federal government entail?
Well, the agreement covers children who were placed anywhere from 1951 up to 1992. It's a fairly sizable group that runs from coast to coast to coast. We estimate there are going to be about 40,000 class members in this class action. It provides compensation for those individuals in two categories. Category 1 is compensation of $10,000 for each class member, and that is for placement by Canada in the boarding homes program. Now, I say boarding homes because it's called the boarding homes program, but these are placements in private homes. The second category of compensation, category 2, is for neglect and abuse, psychological, physical, and sexual abuse. There are 5 levels of compensation in category 2. They run from $10,000 up to $200,000, dependent on the severity of the abuse. Class members qualify for both category 1 and category 2. In other words, if you have a category 2A level of compensation or level of claim that has $10,000 of compensation, you would get the category 1 of $10,000, and you would also get your category 2 compensation. They're not exclusive. They are combined.
Now, Mr. Klein, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. One of the plaintiffs describes these boarding schools as a cut with only half a bandage covering. Are you able to explain what he meant by that?
Yes. What he's talking about is the fact that there have been several other class action settlements for Indigenous children who were placed in hostile environments to go to school. Indian residential schools, and day scholars. This boarding homes issue has been out there for a long time. Our client, Reg Percival, has been lobbying for compensation for the boarding home students since at least 2005. He has pointed out for many years that they suffered similar types of abuse, the very same type of disconnect from their language, from their culture, from their heritage, from their family, and yet they were excluded from the several other compensation programs. So, you know, there are people class members who went to residential schools for grades 1 to 6, and then they were shipped off to private homes hundreds of miles from their community for grades 7 to 12. They were compensated for residential schools, but there was nothing for the harm they suffered while they were in the boarding homes program. This case is an important step to closing an important step to healing that wound. That's what he meant by a cut that was only half covered.
Well, the Trudeau government has been talking for years about settling lawsuits like this one out of court. Why has it taken so long to come to this agreement in principle?
Well, you know, our client, Reg Percival, had some difficulty finding a law firm that was prepared to take the case on. It had many challenges. It's not a straightforward, simple case. but we saw that it had both merit and that there was a genuine need. So the suit wasn't filed until 2018. That's 10 years, more than 10 years after the Indian residential schools settlement was actually entered into. So that's one reason for the delay. It just took a long time to marshal the resources and find legal representation. The second is that it's very difficult to settle a case unless you know how big the class is. It took us a couple of years of research, review of Canada's documents, archival research to determine the breadth of this program, what the nature of the program was, and how big the class size was. Archival researchers were hired, but then Canada Archives was closed due to COVID. So that put a kink in our research and our work. And those are a couple of the reasons for the delay. But we are where we are. It is a very important accomplishment.
Well, and lastly here, Mr. Klein, and then maybe just a quick word on when plaintiffs can expect to see some compensation?
So we're working on the final settlement agreement terms now. We have to hire a claims administrator. We have to put all that together, notify the class so that they are aware of the terms of the settlement and then have an opportunity to have their voices heard. There will be a settlement approval hearing, and we welcome class members to review the terms of the settlement, to provide us with their feedback, to let the court know how they feel about the settlement. Once it's approved, we have to wait for the appeal period to expire, and we hope that if everything goes according to plan, the claim center will be open before the end of this year.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much for joining us today and providing us an update, Mr. Klein.
You're very welcome.
All right, it's time for one final break. When we come back, the holiday season is over, but this time of year is still often a challenging time for many. We'll have that story next. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. David Menzies is becoming a regular contributor. Here's his latest from the Steinbach area east of Winnipeg, a rather spectacular shot of what we call a sundog in English, or as the Crees say, Kanemisko Tewetate Pisum, when the sun walks carrying fire. Keep your photos coming to share at aptn.ca. All right, now here is tomorrow's weather forecast. We start on the East Coast, 3 degrees in St. John's and -4 in Charlottetown, -13 in Cartwright and -14 in Happy Valley Goose Bay, -7 in Val-d'Or and 0 in Quebec City, 2 degrees in Toronto and -6 in North Bay, -7 in Timmins and -7 in Sioux Lookout. Some snow and -17 in Churchill and -10 in Thompson. -9 in Barons River and -8 in Winnipeg. Clear and -9 in Yorkton and -12 in Saskatoon. -10 in Buffalo Narrows and -12 in Stony Rapids. As we move west, -12 in Fort Chipewyan and -15 in Peace River. Clear and -3 in Edmonton and clear and -2 in Calgary. 7 degrees in Vancouver and 0 in Bella Coola. 3 degrees in Sandspit and -14 in Fort Nelson. -19 in Beaver Creek and -18 in Old Crow. Clear and -22 in Norman Wells and -18 in Trout Lake. -19 in Fort McPherson and -14 in Inuvik. -30 in Cambridge Bay and -30 in Chesterfield. -35 in Iqaluit and -17 in some snow in Iqaluit. The holiday season may be over, but this time of year is still often a challenging time for many. As APTN's Tina House reports from Vancouver, there are nonprofit organizations there to help those in need.
It's a busy day here at the Aboriginal Mothers Centre as staff load hampers with full Christmas dinners. to be delivered to community members.
Some people don't have turkeys at Christmas, and we want to make sure as much. And with the rising prices of food, you can't believe a turkey's like over $50 in some places.
And with those high prices, Christmas can be a very financially stressful time for many, and these dinners are very welcomed and appreciated.
Okay, there's a blanket here. Everybody gets gifts.
Oh, nice.
Come here, Nevaeh.
Add the turkey.
And you want to... That's a shirt for you.
For this grandmother who raises her 2 grandkids, she says this is a huge help.
Okay, Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you. Merry Christmas.
Bye, Nevaeh.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's so helpful. You have a happy holiday.
You too.
And just around the corner of the Aboriginal Mothers Centre, they are also giving out hampers to those in need at the Circle of Eagles Society. Sarah Thomas shows us a special room set up for anyone who can't afford to buy gifts and can come here for free.
Welcome to Circle of Eagles. I just want to show you our gift shop that we've created this year for families and that are part of Circle of Eagles. Come on in. So what we have here is a lot of donations for families from 0 to maybe 10, 11. We haven't been able to get a lot of donations for teenagers, but we do try and get as much gifts for babies, families.
Merv Thomas is the CEO at Circle of Eagles. He says their mandate is to help people transitioning out of federal corrections, but he says their programming goes much farther than just helping them transition into society again.
I'm very proud. It's a small thing to do, but I think it starts with small baby steps. And I think the main thing is to give people hope.
And with the spirit of giving, these 2 organizations have truly stepped up to help those in need. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Merry Christmas.
And here's a fun little story with a bit of mystery as well. Snow bears are popping up around St. Albert, Alberta this winter. One sculpture is a pair of bears roasting marshmallows on a campfire, and another is enjoying an ice-cold Coke on a park bench. The artist behind them wants to remain anonymous, but says he does them for fun, and he's been doing them for a number of years now. Métis singer-songwriter Brandy Vesna has racked up 5 nominations for the recent Manitoba Country Music Awards. Vesna is tonight's guest of an encore presentation of Face to Face. She told Dennis Ward that music has been her saving grace.
My granny always says that music will carry you through. And I can say right now, without my sobriety, there's no way I'd be sitting here. There's no way. I really don't think I'd even be alive at this point in time. But I mean, I think because I pray and my message is from my heart and my spirit, I think that my guides, my helpers, the people, the ones in the spirit world are guiding me and leading me where I need to go. And I mean, I could sing songs that, you know, glorify drinking and whatnot, but that's not where I am as a person, so that's not how the message that I want to share.
All right, that is all we have for you tonight on APTN National News. If you missed any of our stories or you want to catch up, you can head to our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Daryl Stranger. For all of us here, thank you for joining us. Chi Miigwech, have a great night and look after each other.